day 2 of creating as many Christmas projects as possible using my forgotten Christmas stash. I know ugly Christmas sweaters are a thing, but are ugly Christmas papers a thing too? Welcome to my 12 Days of Christmas Stash Busting Challenge. Here are the rules. Rule number 1, each project needs to include at least one ugly Christmas pattern paper. Rule number 2, no new items allowed. I can only use the supplies that are currently in my stash. Rule number 3, projects need to be completed in an hour or less, and they need to be easy and fun to make so that you too can play along and create them for your friends and family. Yesterday I created a bunch of gift tags, and for today's project I'll be making an accordion fold Christmas card that looks complicated but isn't. This one is perfect as a specialty Christmas card to make for friends and family you really want to impress. I'll be creating with crepe paper's busy sidewalks for these projects. There are quite a few papers in here that I really want to get used up. And here's a look at the 4-fold card template. I have mocked this up, I have all the measurements, and we're going to go through it step by step. So starting with a full sheet of 12 by 12 cardstock, we're going to cut a piece that is 6.5 inches wide by 5 inches long. This will form the back side of the card. Next up, we need to create this middle section. This is the accordion fold part. This section is 11 inches long and 5.5 inches wide. This one we will need to score to create that accordion fold. Working along the longest edge, you want to score at 4 inches and 8 inches. Now, I don't have a large scoreboard, so I'm going to score at 4 inches and then fold that over and then go in another 4 inches. I'm also using my bone folder just to make sure those folds are nice and crisp. Next, we'll work on the section that will form the front of the card. This piece is 4.5 inches by 5.5 inches and will be scored at the 3-inch mark. I'll make sure that that fold is nice and crisp too, and now we can start to build the card. So the largest piece will be your base, this one right here. The longer piece is going to be the accordion fold center part. So it needs to be folded in a Z fold like so, and then you're going to attach some double-sided tape on that back section there. That's how we'll attach it to our base. Notice that the section that is attached to the back is actually the smallest section. That's how you know you've got the right one. I've used double-sided tape to do this and centered it top to bottom on the card. Be sure to line up the edge of the accordion piece with the left-hand edge of your card. That is the hardest part of construction now done. We're going to repeat that step with the front piece. Be sure to add your double-sided tape to the smallest section. Place it on top of the accordion fold piece and center top to bottom, just like so. Both of these pieces that you've added line up on the left-hand edge of the card. It's now time to decorate and time to find some ugly pattern paper. Now, of course, I have a plan. We're not just going to use ugly pattern paper because I do want this card to end up pretty. This is the one I'm going to find the most trouble with using, so I'm going to team it with a couple of prints that I really love. I'm going to use my broccoli example, and if you're not sure what that is, I'll be sure to leave a link to that video in the description box below. Essentially, the ugly pattern paper is our broccoli, and everybody knows that broccoli tastes better when it is paired with something far more delicious. For this project, you'll want to work with 3 different pattern papers. One of them should be your ugly pattern paper, and then pair that with 2 papers that you much prefer to use. A really good combination would be a floral, a check, and a spot. And that's what I'm going to be working with for this first card. If you work with those patterns, it will also be easier for you to follow along here. Are you joining me in the challenge? I do hope so. I'll leave a link in the description box below for the Facebook group. That's where you can share the projects that you're making. You can tell me about them too in the comments below. So while I've been chatting about all of that, I am adding paper layers onto my card base. I hope you're ready for a little controversy because I actually do not measure. For this part of my creating process, I measure nothing. All of this is done by eye. So I place the paper that I want to use over the area that I'm going to cover. I then mark it with my pencil and trim it on the pencil line. I know it sounds a little bit weird, but I've actually found this to be more accurate. I find that if I measure with a ruler and then cut the paper to the size of the ruler, I make mistakes and it ends up being wrong. So for me, it is so much faster just to place that pattern paper over the area, mark it with a pencil and trim at that point. I highly recommend that you give this technique a go. It might surprise you. Now I do want to make these cards extra special, so I have taken the card away and added stitching around all of the edges. It's a really beautiful detail to add. It's now time to add some embellishments and also the closure for the card. When the card is complete, it's very unlikely that it's going to sit perfectly flat. So I did want to add in a ribbon closure that I could tie to secure it all together. You've got loads of options for ribbons here. I did start out with some bias binding, but ended up switching to this really nice natural twine. You will want to lock this ribbon in place before you start adding your embellishments to this front section. If you're using a super flat ribbon, you could even add it in underneath your paper layer. And you can see now how this is going to secure the card. Now, I highly recommend that you decorate the card from front to back. As you can see here, the embellishments that you add to the second and third layers, you can see them from the front. So as you add pieces, you want to keep opening and closing that front section so that you can see what the card will look like once it's complete. There's also a little bit of balancing to be done in terms of embellishments because you won't want the card to end up too thick, but I do like that layered look. If you have a bunch of Christmas stickers in your stash, pull them out. They are going to be great in these. So too are acetate pieces and tags, just like I've used here. Here's a look at the first completed card. I do have a second one to share with you. I purposefully left space for a Christmas message, and I will be tucking inside of here a gift card. So this card was created with very traditional Christmas colours. I want to show you one that's a little more modern. This is a collection by Coco Vanilla Studio and it is filled with pastels. I've started with a couple of their pocket page cards. I actually thought, you know what, this could be a really great way to use up a couple of those. They're the perfect size too because they do actually fit in behind that front section. You can see the right-hand side poking out there just a little, but I actually like that. It kind of adds to the layers of the card. I've just made really sure that that piece is centered so that it looks like it is meant to be there. Now for the front section of the card, I did want to find a pretty large embellishment. This is the perfect time to use up those bigger supplies. You also have the flexibility to choose something a little bit thicker for the front cover because you don't need to worry about the card folding. I do want a little more of this back page to show through to the front. So I'm just going to add in a little paper banner and you can see here how I'm going to position it. So I'm always checking that front section against the back section for positioning. I have so many pieces of ephemera and embellishments in this collection. I felt like I could go a little bit extra and add in lots of layers here. I also wanted to start with a simpler version in that first card and then show you how you can take it to the next level and add in extra details in this second one.
Did you notice the satin seam binding I'm using as the closure? It's a much better fit for the beautiful, soft, creamy pastels that are in this card. I'm working on the back section here last, just making sure that anything that I position here is tucked behind those front layers. While I do that, I do have a question for you. What are the papers that you find the hardest to use up? Is it the ones that have bold patterns or really large prints? Or is it more of a colour thing? Do you struggle using certain colours? Let me know in the comments below so that I can make sure to include those kind of ugly pattern papers in the series. Here's a look at the completed card. I will flip through all of the pages so you can see all the embellishing that I've done here. This one certainly is more detailed than the first one, but I have still left space for my Christmas message. I really enjoyed putting these together and I hope you do too.
So far in the challenge, I've used up a lot of paper scraps and embellishments. Tomorrow, I'm going to focus on full sheets of 12 by 12 pattern paper. I'll be creating a scrapbook layout that comes together in a flash with the help of 2 secret ingredients. Want to know what they are? I'll leave a link to the playlist right here so you can find out. I'll see you all again very soon. Until then, bye.